Stop analyzing your Gen Z employees' attitude problem. It's a ghost. It doesn't exist. They aren't lazy, they aren't fragile, and they certainly aren't entitled. They just ran the math you're too scared to look at. And the numbers say the game is rigged. To understand why the office feels like a battlefield, we have to stop talking about culture and start talking about survival. Back in 1990, a regional manager could buy a 3-bedroom house on a single income after 5 years of saving. That wasn't a fantasy. That was the baseline. The deal was simple. Give the company your loyalty, and the company gives you the American dream. But for a kid graduating today, that deal is a hallucination. Let's look at the starting line, which is where the scam begins. In the 80s, a summer job could pay for a year of college tuition. You could graduate with a clean slate. Today, Gen Z starts the race with a ball and chain attached to their leg. They graduate with a mortgage-sized debt before they even own a doorknob. This fundamental negative balance changes their risk profile entirely. When you start your life in the red, patience isn't a virtue. It's a luxury you can't afford. They are sprinting just to get back to zero. Then comes the housing market, the ultimate scorecard of adulthood. In the 1980s, the price-to-income ratio in major cities hovered around 3 or 4 to 1. That means a house cost about 3 to 4 times your annual salary. It was a steep climb, but it was climbable. Today, in hubs like London, New York, or Sydney, that ratio has skyrocketed to 10, sometimes 12 times the average salary. The finish line didn't just move, it vanished. When a boomer says, "I worked hard and bought a house, why can't you?" they are ignoring a fundamental shift in economic physics. The house costs 10 times the salary, but the paycheck adjusted for real inflation has barely budged. In fact, in terms of purchasing power for hard assets, it has shrunk. So when you tell a 24-year-old to just save harder, you are asking them to fill a swimming pool with a teaspoon while someone drills a hole in the bottom. Forget the housing data for a second. Look at the holy grail of boomer complaints, the $7 oat milk latte. They scream about the coffee. They call it financial illiteracy. But here's the brutal truth. The latte is the only luxury they can afford. Think about the psychology of saving. If you save $500 a month, but house prices in your area are rising by $5,000 a month, you are literally becoming poorer by saving money. The inflation of assets eats your savings alive before you can even get it to the bank. So, the logic flips. Why deny yourself small pleasures today for a future that is statistically unreachable? They buy the dopamine hit today because the investment portfolio is a joke. It isn't financial stupidity. It is irrational and aesthetic against a reality that offers no long-term reward. It is doom spending away to feel alive in an economy that wants to turn you into a debt-servicing robot. But the broken promise isn't just about money. It's about trust. And this is where the corporate world really dropped the ball. Gen Z grew up watching a horror movie, and the victims were their parents. They watched their dad give 20 years of his life to a firm. They saw him miss the Little League games, skip the anniversaries, and answer emails at dinner, all in the name of being a good company man. And what did they see at the end? They saw him get handed a cardboard box and a security escort out of the building during the 2008 crash, or the 2020 pandemic cuts. The lesson stuck, and it was seared into their subconscious. The company doesn't love you. HR isn't your friend. And we are a family is the biggest lie ever told in a boardroom. This trauma is why job hopping is the new normal. It is not a lack of focus. It is the only way to beat inflation. The data proves the loyalty penalty is real. If you stay in your seat for more than 2 years, on average, you get a 3% cost of living adjustment. That doesn't even cover the rising cost of groceries. But if you jump ship to a competitor, you get a 15% to 20% raise. They treat the employer exactly how the employer treats them, as a temporary gig. They know they are just fuel for the engine, and they know the company will burn them up and replace them the second the stock price dips. They aren't mercenaries. They're just reading the market better than you are. This brings us to the daily grind. The way we work has fundamentally changed. But the expectations haven't. In the old days, work stayed at the office. When you clocked out at 5 p.m., you were free. Today, the digital leash is tight. Work has bled into every hour of existence, demanding 24/7 availability for wages that cover less and less of the bills. And it's not just the hours, it's the hypocrisy. Gen Z is allergic to corporate performance art. They sit in wellness webinars telling them to breathe while their workload doubles. They get a pizza party instead of a raise. They see the performative busyness, the endless Zoom calls that could have been emails, and they realize the system values looking busy over actual value creation. The hustle culture that boomers and Gen X glorified was based on the premise that hard work leads to promotion, wealth, and a golden retirement. But Gen Z looks up the corporate ladder and sees a burning building. They don't believe retirement exists for them. They assume they will work until the day they die. So, the idea of sacrificing now for later is fundamentally broken. They see a VP with a corner office, a second divorce, a stress-induced heart condition, and no relationship with their kids. They look at that person and ask a terrifying question. Is that success, or is that just a tragedy in a suit? They aren't refusing to work hard. They are capable of immense effort when the mission makes sense. What they are refusing to do is grind themselves into dust for a prize that isn't worth the blood. They are looking at the deal on the table, your life, in exchange for a salary that can't buy a secure future, and they are saying, no deal. We call this quiet quitting, but the media has it wrong. It isn't laziness. It's a boundary. It's the radical act of treating a job like a contract, not a calling. It's doing exactly what you're paid for, no more, no less. It is the realization that if the system won't guarantee their future, they have to save themselves right now. The economic engine that drove the work ethic of the 20th century has run out of gas. The carrot is gone, and the stick is broken. We are left with a generation that is wide awake, hyper-aware of the scam, and refusing to play a game they were destined to lose. So if the money is broken and the loyalty is fake, what's left? If work isn't who you are, then what is? That's where the math ends, and the revolution begins. When the carrot is gone and the stick snaps, the only thing left to save is your own mind. The paycheck cleared on Friday morning, but the math still didn't add up. The rent took 60%. The student loans took 20%. And inflation ate the rest. That is the precise moment. The great detachment actually began not on a spreadsheet, but in the silence of a bank account that hit 3 days before the end of the month. It triggers a shift. When the promise of prosperity is broken, the desire for prestige dies with it. And this death of prestige plays out in the most mundane setting possible. The dinner party. You know the scene. You're holding a lukewarm drink, talking to a guy in a suit you just met, and 10 seconds in, he drops the bomb. So, what do you do? For a boomer or a Gen Xer, that is a polite way of asking, how much respect do I owe you? It locates you on the food chain. It tells them if you are a predator or prey, but to a 20-something. That question feels like an invasive interrogation. They don't want to talk about how they make rent. To them, a job isn't an identity. It's a utility. It's the internet provider that keeps the lights on so they can actually live their real life. And you don't weep when your ISP changes its terms of service. You just switch to the one that offers better bandwidth. This emotional detachment is what managers mistake for apathy. It isn't apathy, it's a firewall. It is a calculated psychological defense mechanism against a system that demands your soul in exchange for a salary that barely covers your survival. They have looked at the cost of caring too much, the stress, the ulcers, the missed birthdays, and decided the subscription price is too high. Management calls this quiet quitting. The workforce calls it reading the contract. Think about it. You walk into a bakery and buy a bagel. The baker gives you the bagel. He doesn't throw in a 3-tier wedding cake just to prove he has hustle. That would be financial insanity. Yet for 50 years, employers bought the bagel your 9-to-5 and expected the wedding cake your nights, your weekends, your sanity for free. Take a yeet, paying your dues. Take a yeet, being a team player. Act in your wage is simply stopping the charity work. It's saying, I will do exactly what you pay me for. The premium subscription costs extra. That isn't laziness, that's business. And it drives the old guard insane because the entire modern corporate model relies on scope creep. It relies on extracting unpaid labor from insecure people who are terrified of losing their jobs. But you cannot manipulate someone who doesn't crave your validation and isn't afraid of being fired because they are already broke. Then, we have the battleground that has turned the generation gap into a canyon. The return to office. They call it collaboration. The workforce calls it commuting to the Zoom room. There is absolutely zero logic in dragging a junior developer through an hour of soul-crushing gridlock, forcing them to pay $15 for a sad salad, and making them sit in a gray cubicle only to have them put on noise-canceling headphones to video chat with a manager sitting 12 feet away. It defies physics. It defies reason. Gen Z looks at that open-plan floor and sees the truth. The open office wasn't designed for collaboration. It was designed for surveillance. It's a panopticon. It's for the manager who doesn't know how to measure output. So they measure attendance. They measure how long your butt is in the chair, not what your brain is actually producing. This enforcement of mandatory attendance has birthed a new form of corporate rebellion called coffee badging. Employees show up at 9 a.m., swipe their ID badge to get into the system, grab a coffee, walk around for an hour to be seen, and then leave to go do their actual work at home. It's a farce. It's a game of cat and mouse where nobody wins. Gen Z asks the uncomfortable question, why are we really here? And they suspect the answer has nothing to do with culture. It has to do with commercial real estate portfolios. They know the company is terrified that their multi-million-dollar headquarters is turning into an expensive ghost town. So, the mandate to return isn't about productivity. It's about justifying a lease to a generation raised on digital efficiency. This isn't just annoying. It is gross incompetence. It signals that the leadership values their real estate assets more than their human assets. So, the fear-based management model is dead. You can't threaten someone with poverty if they are already living in it. You can't threaten to stall their career if they don't believe a career path exists. The stick has snapped. If you want to keep talent in this new era, you need a new treaty. And this treaty must be built on 3 non-negotiable pillars: radical transparency, gamified progression, and asynchronous trust. First, start with the money. The era of listing competitive salary on a job post is over. Competitive usually means, we hope you don't know what you're worth. In the age of TikTok, Glassdoor, and Reddit, salary secrecy is obsolete. They know what the role pays. They know what the guy next to them makes. If you want trust, show the numbers before the first handshake. Transparency isn't a perk anymore. It's the baseline. When a company hides the payroll, they are telling their employees, we don't trust you. And that feeling becomes mutual instantly. Second, burn the maybe. Stop promising vague promotions if things go well in Q4. That is corporate poetry. And nobody reads poetry anymore. Gen Z grew up in a world of clear metrics. Video games. In a game, if you kill 10 monsters, you level up. It's binary. It's fair. Transfer that logic to the office. Give them a roadmap. If you hit target A, you get title B. Write it in ink if the path forward is foggy, or if leveling up depends on office politics and who you have drinks with, they won't play the game. They will just unplug the controller and leave. They need to know that meritocracy is real, not just a poster on the wall. Finally, redefine flexibility. It's not just about working from home on Fridays. True flexibility is ace. It means judging a fish by how well it swims, not how long it hangs out at the aquarium. We need to move to an output-only culture. If the code is clean, the project is shipped, and the client is happy. It shouldn't matter if the work was done at 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Measure the result, not the timestamp. If you can't assess performance without physically watching your employees, you aren't a manager. You are a babysitter, and Gen Z is too old for a babysitter. The leaders who survive this transition will be the ones who stop trying to fix the employees and start fixing the offer. They will realize that loyalty is no longer a default setting. It is a subscription service that must be renewed every single month. This isn't a war between generations, it's a correction. Gen Z is just the first group loud enough and desperate enough to admit that the old deal was a scam. They are forcing us to answer the question we ignored for decades. Are we living to work, or working to live. For 50 years, we got the answer wrong. But thanks to the lazy generation, we are finally remembering the truth. The job is what you do. It's not who you are. And honestly, the kids are right.